This is Ryan Zakos with Zakos Realty and Design Group. In today's Ask the Broker section, we are going to talk about current trend that's going on in our area, and that's the purchase of land and custom home build. So for a question for you to start off, what is the first step in purchasing land if you're a buyer?
I'd say the first thing you want to take into consideration is whether or not the lot has utilities available for it, or are utilities available, city water and sewer. If it doesn't have city water and sewer available, then you may end up with a well and septic, and well and septic can be costly. Average about $8,500 to $10,000 for a septic system, up to $5,000 for a well, and water treatment can be on top of that. Good place to start is reach out to the zoning department with the city, county, municipality. They tend to answer most questions from the public, so they're usually able to answer your question on whether or not utilities are available if you're not quite certain.
That's definitely good information and valuable. Are there any other considerations to know if you're looking at purchasing?
Yeah, another thing to look at is whether or not the property is located in the flood zone. You can easily pull that up on one of the national flood zone maps or ask your realtor and take into consideration if it's in a flood zone, how much would it be for flood insurance if you're going to build a home on it. A good way to know if it's in a flood zone, in addition to looking on the flood map, is getting a survey. Often the seller will share a survey, may have the elevation on it that'll help you determine whether or not it's in a flood zone. But also just having a survey is good information for your builder and you to know how much it's going to cost to build. If you don't have a survey from the seller and you're going to build, ask for a topo survey, because this has elevation, boundaries, and it has easements and access, everything a builder will need to know.
That's definitely some good information, and obviously things that we don't hear every single day. Another thing we hear around here as a real estate agent myself is, are there environmental considerations in determining what property you want to pick?
Yeah, there's a couple different things you need to be aware of, especially if you're buying property out east. And if you're in a platted subdivision, you may want to check this as well, and that's whether or not the lot has any wetlands on it. It can be forested wetlands, so it doesn't need to be swampy, but it still could be designated wetlands, and it can be very costly to mitigate wetlands and build on a lot that has wetlands on it. There is a national registry of wetlands that you can check. You can reach out to your realtor, who should be familiar with that. Unfortunately, a lot of sellers and sellers agents do not disclose information about wetlands.
Another thing that we actually hear in this area as well is protected habitats. Does this area have any protected habitats that we need to consider when buying?
A couple things you need to consider, because it can be very costly if you end up purchasing a lot that has protected species on it. When you go to buy a lot, ask for a feasibility study. That'll give you about 45 days, maybe 30 days in order to determine all these different things we're talking about. Scrub jays are something that are common in our area, gopher tortoises, bald eagles, or even historic grand oaks, what they call them, in protected trees. So you want to make sure if you're buying a piece of property, you know what the cost is involved if you have those protected species or those protected woodlands on your property.
Another question I have, and I think our viewers have, are, is it necessary to have your builder picked out prior to looking for land?
It's not necessary. It'd be a great thing if you did, but we realize that's not always possible. People buy property in advance. But if you did have a builder, a lot of times a good builder will go ahead and do a site visit with you so they can take a look at the lot, the elevation, the access, and answer a lot of questions, cost to clear the lot, fill the lot, some of the things you need to know before you know what it's actually going to cost you when you build a house.
Well, that's a wrap on Ask the Broker. And in today's video, as you just heard, we talked about purchasing land in our area and the custom home building process, the need to know. If there's any further questions that you may have, feel free to reach out to us. We look forward to hearing from you.